start with a focus on Daniel. And Daniel, when we were planning this webinar, we knew that we wanted to invite some folks who could talk about supporting veterans and running programs, but we thought probably the most important role that we could identify was a veteran who could come and help us set the context and the stage for why this topic is important and why we should be here talking about it today. So we have a couple of questions here, and what I'm hoping, Daniel, we can start with is just you giving an introduction about yourself, telling us a little bit about you, and then you and I can have a short conversation and I'll prompt with some questions. But I'm just going to turn the floor over to you for an introduction to get started.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so as Danielle stated, my name is Daniel. I grew up in New York City. I decided to join the military back in 2010. A lot of people always ask me, why did you join the military and whatnot? And I usually don't have a real answer for that. Maybe I heard the calling, or maybe I was just bored one day and just decided. But I joined pretty much while I was in the middle of a war, which they constantly reminded us while we was in basic training. My MOS was 11 Bravo, which is an infantry. So during basic training, we so over in Afghanistan, they fight an unconventional war. So a lot of the training that we got during basic was pretty much useless. So our drill sergeant pretty much trained us to be more physically and mentally tough. So a lot of times, they would just do things just to mess with our heads, to see how we would react to it, to make us stronger, I guess, mentally. So for one example, we used to have these things called bunk parties. And it was pretty much us having to take all of our bunk beds and lockers room, which we kept in our living quarters, which was probably about 30 bunk beds and about 60 lockers, and set them up exactly how it would be in our living quarters outside. We probably did that once a week for about 7 or 8 weeks. And a lot of people pretty much just lost it. So let's see. So a lot of times, our drill sergeant during basic training would just remind us, chances are you will get deployed within a year of getting to your duty station, which, pretty much happened once I got to my duty station. I was stationed up at Fort Lewis, which is in Washington State. And I pretty much got to my unit in September. And I would say by March of the following year, we were pretty much preparing to deploy. We got to Afghanistan, I would say probably November of 2011, right? Pretty much right when winter time over there. We honestly got there at the perfect time, simply because there wasn't a lot of fighting during the winter time. So we had a chance to, I guess, learn the terrain better, learn about like different movements, the area, and just the different patterns. So by the time it came, spring, summertime, we knew if something didn't look right, or we knew exactly what to look for. During the summer season over there is very hot during the daytime, very cold at night. And we was always fighting. We used to get into firefights on a daily basis, 6-7 times a day. And sometimes it would be, a quick pop shot here, a pop shot there, just to kind of test us in a way to see if, we're actually, watching, if we're actually, doing what we're supposed to do. Other times, we would get into intense firefights for hours at a time. When we were not pretty much defending our post, we would be out on patrols. Usually the area that we was staying at was pretty much a company size operating base, which pretty much it was enough for about maybe 150 people. We had about 75 people in that area. Pretty much it was 2 platoons and our support pretty much. So our supply sergeants, our cooks, our medics, what we need to do to get the mission done. So we had 2 platoons over there, and a lot of times, one platoon will usually stay and pretty much watch over the operating base, and the other platoon would go out on patrols. And we pretty much did that on and off for about 3 months until they decided to move us. A lot of times during the deployment, we would pretty much provide overwatch. So a lot of times, we would be out in the middle of nowhere for a week or two straight before a major operation would go down. And that's pretty much, to kind of secure the area, set up a place where, we could pretty much have a good defensive position. That's pretty much all I gotta say.
Daniel, thank you so much. I think that painting a picture for us of your experience is something that we don't get to spend a lot of time really hearing from people about. So thank you for spending that time and telling us what your experience was like. As brief as it was, I'm sure that was there's a lot more there. I wonder, can you talk a little bit about what it means for veterans to have social support, especially maybe around the time of transitioning back from being deployed back into their communities?
Well, first and foremost is very important, because a lot of times the way they train us so we could actually, be effective overseas is, pretty much to kind of, shut down your feelings, shut down, shut any kind of feeling, just shut it down and just focus on the mission. And, it's hard to switch that off. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, I've met people and, a lot of things where, I'll talk or say something, it comes out as being cold in a way. And that just simply because, I guess it's hard to say in a way, but it's like, it's hard to feel sometimes. Let me put it like that. Yeah. So, building a good social support and, just learning, those, social cues that will help you get by in life.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Daniel. It's I feel really grateful that you're willing to be so open and talk about these thoughts with us. What I'm going to do now is transition a little bit into some of our other speakers, talking a little bit about ways that they're also seeing some of these needs for social support and addressing them. And then we're going to come back though and ask you questions about, your reflections on what we've heard and any thoughts or, extra kinds of context that you might think about as these presentations are presented. So thank you so much.